Hey world, how are we doing? So, it's been a really busy week here. We've got so much to talk about. So, first up, we started our cycles this week. So, what does that mean? What have we been doing this week towards our new cycles? So, as I explained in the previous video, the first 2 weeks are discovery. This is where we understand the problem and decide what the best approach is to the problem, maybe do some experimentation, and come out of the 2 weeks with a clear, broken down plan of what we can achieve in the rest of the cycle. So we had kickoffs for both our epics that we're trying to run in this cycle. One of them takes on a pretty orthodox form for what we're expecting to fit into cycles. It's the kickoff of a new, larger project. It will take a couple of cycles to get through, and we as an engineering team are just beginning to understand what's involved. The second is something that has been working on a bit for a little while, and most of this investigation is pretty much done. However, we're under time pressure with the client requesting this functionality, and they currently aren't able to use the existing functionality. As I've mentioned before, we're currently in the process of transitioning our database architecture onto something that's more scalable. The client in question has a database that is huge, 4 times larger than anything we've used before. As a result, the page in question needs to pull in the entire data structure in order to process the results of what we call a matrix. This project that we're working on is breaking that down and being able to just pull in the information we need. This client hasn't been able to use matrix at all until this point. So what we've been doing to get it work around this for the client is loading it in piecemeal and manually generating them one on our own end and sending them a screenshot. This does for a makeshift solution to get us through a week or two, but after that, it's really not going to work. And especially as we're looking at getting some even larger clients coming in soon. We're breaking our work down such that we're doing the minimum amount of work that we need to unblock this client. And then after that, we can take a more methodical, planned approach to giving the best solution to all of our clients. That means our cycles pattern isn't quite working right this week. Our first week is dedicated to getting that client unblocked. Our second week of the cycle will be the discovery and planning for the rest of the work. So what else have we been doing in our first week of discovery? Well, we ran a risk storming session, the first time I've ever run one, and I'll put a link in the doobly-da below if you want to find out more about that. Going into it with a very limited scope, we didn't think we'd uncover so much, but we found quite a lot really. So now we have this information, what are we going to do with it? Well, once I go away and I've organised it into some coherent form, we're going to dot vote on what we feel are the key risks that we need to address and do some action to prevent. And so, saving the best to last, so yesterday afternoon, Lance, one of the developers here, called me over to do some TDD with him. This is great, right? Working with your developer and your tester together to build quality right from the get-go. One of the first things we discussed was, will the tests that we're writing run against the old code? What we were trying to achieve is a refactor of the existing code so that we can facilitate some new functionality. In the process of trying to figure out what the tests should do by reading the existing code, we were really confused. There was some functionality in there and stuff and values in the JSON object that we just didn't know what they were for. But they were being used in the old code to decide what path we went down. So we pulled in Mandy and we asked her to help us figure it out. We come into the shed here and worked it all out upon the whiteboard. We figured out what were all the test cases we were going to need and logically broke down exactly what the functionality did. Through reading the code, existing code, and understanding what we expected it to do going forward, we realized that there were a couple of cases where maintaining the existing functionality didn't make sense anymore. So we just cut those out. And this allowed us to break a really complicated logic situation down into something a bit more manageable and a bit simpler. But we didn't stop there. Then we decided to write the tests. Instead of Lance just going away and doing his awesome, we decided to do some mob development. How did we do this? Well, we had one Mac, we put the code up on the big screen, and we decided to pass the laptop around person to person and write the tests, write a bit of code to make the test pass, write the test, write a bit of code to make the test pass. I was a bit surprised when the laptop got passed to me. I wasn't expecting it, and I was a bit surprised by it, but I was excited to be able to get my hands dirty and write some tests. I was even more surprised when the laptop landed on me and it was my turn to actually write the production code as well. But with mob developing, I felt safe to. I had two experienced developers with me to help me ensure that I got it right, plus I had the reliance of the test that had just been written to make sure that it passed. Through this process, going round and round, we wrote all the tests and all the code to actually get this functionality going. It was a lot of fun, and I look forward to doing a lot more of it. So that about rounds up what we've done this week. Hope it's been informative for you. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you next week.